look at the timing on this is that you really need to think about, when you're putting an application into a company, you really need to think about why you're putting an application into that particular company. And by that, what I mean is, do you actually want to work for that company? Because if you don't want to work for that company, then I would suggest you don't put an application in. So when you're actually looking at companies, you need to think about, why do I want to work for them? What am I going to get out of it? What can I give them? Do they share the same values as me? Because you need to do a lot of research on the company before you put an application together. And you certainly need to put a lot of research into them before you go for an application, for an assessment centre or an interview. And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was in our head office in Portsmouth, and we were doing an assessment centre for graduates. These people, most of them, are actually already qualified, got the degree. Some of them are going to hopefully get their degrees next May, June. And I had a guy there, and I asked him to tell me about IBM, which is a very straightforward question with an interview, and he could tell me very little about IBM. So there he is in an assessment centre, having an interview for a job with IBM, and he doesn't even know anything, really, about the company that he's saying he wants to spend the next 3, 4, 5 years, rest of his life working for. So this is talking about graduates. We're not talking about graduates here. We're talking about yourselves who will probably be getting a year out in industry. So an application form is actually really your first interview with a company. You might think it's just an application form, but it isn't. It's actually the first stage of your interview. Because what you're actually doing in that application form is that you're telling that company about yourself. An application form, say within IBM, will ask for something like evidence against 9 competencies. So it will look for evidence about your adaptability, your team working, your communication skills, your analytical problem solving, your driving leadership and so forth. It will want to know information about those areas. It's asking for that information. And what it's looking for is evidence. Evidence of things that you have done that show that you have that competency. So when you're putting your application form together, you're actually, if you think about it, like writing a script that you can use when you go to an interview. In IBM assessment centres, you are not in competition with one another. So if we have 350 student jobs, then we want 350 people. If the first 350 people that turned up to our assessment centres all pass, that would be great news for IBM, because we would save an absolute fortune in recruitment costs. It doesn't tend to work that way, but by providing you with a lot of information, it tells you to think about things that are important to IBM. If you were to go to Tesco's or HSBC, Citibank or Accenture, or whoever it may be, they're all going to do the same thing. They're all going to tell you pretty much what they're looking for. And in their application forms, particularly online application forms, they're going to set out even maybe some of the questions. IBM tend to say, just tell us about teamwork, so many words. Somebody like Tesco's will actually ask you a specific question about teamwork. On the left-hand side, you have skills that you may be learning. These are things that you may have that you can bring to the show. On the right-hand side, things that are in the circle. These are what they say called life skills, so they're behaviours. If you are a good team worker working in working in McDonald's, and you work well in that team, you're a good team player, you collaborate with people, you help people, then there is a very, very good chance that that's what you'll do for IBM. It's what you'll do for IBM teams. Because these are the skills these are the life skills that you bring up. You can transfer these skills from McDonald's to IBM, to the university, to working in a pub, to running a club, whatever it may be. You can move those around. On the left-hand side, they're skills that you learn. So, what attracted you to apply for the position with IBM? IBM will ask you on its online application, why you have applied there? What can you bring to IBM? So the balance on this, my advice on this is, with any company, is there is a tendency for people to think only in terms of what the company you're applying to can actually do for you. I would like to do a gap year with IBM because I think that will make me more employable. I think that will enable me to get a better degree when I go back to university. It will give me some responsibilities over and above those that I demonstrate this year, and so forth. Which is all very, very important, absolutely important, that's what you say. But try and also think about what can I give IBM. So if I do a placement with IBM, what am I going to bring to IBM? And I'm going to bring some of these things like passion, enthusiasm, drive, energy, ideas. All we're trying to do at this stage is to get you to think about the evidence that you can actually provide. Because this is what you need to do in the application, as I said up front, and then that becomes your script, so you can use that in an interview. But invariably, on any interview, you're going to be doing 80% of the talking. I'm only going to be doing 20%, and that 20% is pretty much around asking questions. I ask a question, then I sit back and you talk to me for 4 or 5 minutes, maybe. So if I'm looking at an interview, I'm looking at passion, so I'm looking at adaptability. I might look at 2 other competencies. It's a 30-minute interview. That's going to allow pretty much 5 minutes per question and some time over. This is a format that you might want to think of using, which is called the STAR format. Thinking about what we're trying to do is bring some coherence to this, some structure. I've got to come on to my sort of brand of the 4 communication C's, one of which is coherence. But if your application has some structure to it, so if I ask you about a team, if you can say what the situation was, what is the background to this? So Mr. was saying about the group assignment. We were given a group assignment to do. There was a team of 4 of us. We had never met before. There were people from the 4 corners of the world, so therefore there were cultural communication challenges. This is how we this is what we needed to do. These were the timelines. We were asked to deliver this in 4 weeks. This is a specific issue. So you've given us much information. What you're doing is, if you think about it, if you're telling me about a situation, I don't know you, I don't know the university, I don't know what the detail of the degree that you're doing. I don't know about what you've actually been doing within that. Similar, if you're working in a job, I don't know about that company, I don't know about what job you do. So you're able to paint a picture to me, you're able to tell me, give me information that can allow me to have some understanding, and that can allow me, in an interview situation, to ask a question. So you need to paint the picture by giving me the situation, giving me the background. But there's a structure to it, so that I can actually, when I'm reading this in an application, I can actually follow that structure. So for me, reading it is very simple. If you think about IBM maybe gets, I don't know, let's say it gets 1,000 applications, I'm having to look at 100 of those, and I'm trying to look at those one after the other. If I can't read them, if I find it difficult to read them, then the chances are I'm not going to read them. And it may be that I just reject them. So it has to be telling me in an orderly fashion, in a coherent fashion, what it is that so I can understand it. Otherwise, I'm just going to say, I have no idea what this person's talking about. And you know, guess what? I'm not really interested either. I haven't got time. So CVs for IBM, it could be different companies. CVs for IBM are not the most important thing. You have a CV, we'll probably go over to our HR. Our HR, I think, is in Bratislava at the moment. They're really looking to see that, do you have all the qualifications, do you have everything that satisfies our employment legislation? Is there anything that prevents us offering you an opportunity to come for an interview for a student placement? If all of those things pass through that CV, then that's where it's vetted. Then we're going to come out to you and ask you to put an online application in.
it's the online application which is going to be the thing that someone like me, is going to look at and make a decision whether we should bring you to an assessment centre. So some of these things like managed, installed. So this one, I was involved with the bringing about of this increase in revenues. Well, what was your involvement? So you've got to be a little bit more specific.